Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the work session of the Town of Berlin Mayor Council. It is Monday, November 27th, 2023. Our work session this evening is going to run from 6 until 7:25, and then the regular session will kick in at 7:30. If we end a little early, which is possible, then we'll try to move that time up a little bit, but I just wanted to make sure that anybody that's looking to attend the regular session is understanding that our start time is 7:25, well, 7:30. All right, with that, the first item on our work session agenda this evening is to take some strides toward another phase of the PayPoint HR study that was completed a little over a year ago. Well, I would say almost, it was March of last year? No.
Yeah, it began in
Okay.
October and we received the results like March.
So a little over a year old.
No,
Under a year?
Yes.
it's March of '23 is when we got it. So we got it just in time to discuss for the budget.
Okay, so, all right, less than a year old, PayPoint HR study, and with that, the recommendation and what the mayor and council were trying to achieve was 50% of market. When that came back, we were not able to hit the 50% of market. We went and opted for 35% of market rate, with the goal at some point to phase in a 50% of market, as well as another phase of the study, which was an implementation of a step and grade system. Really, when we're looking at a step and grade system, it's twofold. It's one, to make sure that our employees, the folks that we have currently, as well as those that are looking to join the team, have a pathway for understanding where their financials could go with longevity with the town of Berlin. Does not factor in COLAs. COLAs would be on top of the step and grade system. And when a COLA is done, it would adjust that step and grade table to reflect that change. Additionally, it's designed to help the town of Berlin from a fiscal planning standpoint, to be able to understand our costs as it relates to salaries, which are our human capital, before we enter in a budget cycle. We should be even able to predict that several years in advance. So from a fiscal planning standpoint, it will put the town on a much better platform for a budgeting process, as well as address the concerns that we've heard from our staff, which are they feel like they're toward the end of the budget cycle as a last remaining item for additional funding, which we do not want anybody to feel that way. I don't think that that is reflective of how the mayor and council nor the citizens of Berlin feel about our employees. So we want to move that toward the front end of our budget. So with that being said, we've got a lot of ground to cover this evening, and I'm going to turn over the podium to our Human Resources Director, Kelsey Jensen, to bring us up to speed on the information we have in front of us.
So yeah, tonight I'm basically just looking for some guidance on where to start. I mean, there are several different routes you can take with this. We discussed the 50% of the market, which would be separate from the step and grade. We've discussed just implementing the step and grade this year. We've discussed a combination of the two. PayPoint HR has recommended, which is included in your packet. Page 8 of your packet is the step and grade system built off of what PayPoint HR had recommended, which includes 16 grades and 21 steps, and the difference in those was it was 7.5% between each grade and 2.5% between each step. So the grade would be assigned for a position, the steps would be based on someone's tenure, so you would place them appropriately for that. And then I also had received some feedback early on that we wanted to see more grades. So I created one, which would be page, I'm sorry, that's not, I have a different page number than you on mine because I'm looking at something else.
5, 6, and 7.
Yeah, 5, 6, and 7, which is the one that I had created, and that one includes 5% between grades, 2.5 between steps, but it includes 25 grades, 21 steps. So it just gave you a little more room to space people out, space positions out, but still the same amount of steps. And as the mayor said, the step and grade system would be separate from any COLAs, and for clarity purposes, it does say FY24 COLA 2.25%. That's just there for informational purposes. It's not, at this point, it's not really a factor into this. It was just there I work for the county, so I had actually used a very similar setup for the step and grade system to what they have, and they always indicate on the left the previous year's COLA, and then on the right they will implement what they're anticipating for the following year. So I just kind of copied that, but that can go if it confuses anyone. But I'm just kind of looking to you guys for guidance, because implementing the step and grade process system is going to be the most challenging part of this, and that's only because you're trying to place people that are already employed here, people with a wide variety of experience, experience in other positions with the town, experience with other organizations, and I'm just kind of looking to you guys on how you want me to begin the process. Right now, I had a few questions in here. Did you want to focus on the 50% this coming fiscal year, FY25? Did you want to focus on the step and grade? Do you want to do a combination of the two? How do you want to factor in tenure for employees that have held multiple positions with the town? Because, the grades are going to be different. So those increases, are, if someone has worked in anything from, one of our starting pay positions all the way up to, a department head or something, they've held various levels. So when you factor in their tenure, if they've been here 15 years, you're probably not going to go to step 15 for the highest paid position. So I'm kind of looking to you guys. Where do you want me to begin? So I don't know. I don't want to confuse things more. So I don't know if you want me to open it to you guys for questions.
Why don't we start with the overview of...
It's a lot.
It's a complex.
Why don't we start with an
process.
overview of the cost of achieving 50%, so that everybody's up to speed. I know you sent it via email.
Yep.
Let's just make sure everybody's up to speed on where we're at.
did today's, I factored in the current fiscal year, and then if we were to go to 50% of the market, and those totals came out to, I can tell you by fund and I can tell you total. So this includes salaries, FICA, and state retirement. So to get from current FY24 rates to 50% of the market for FY25, for general fund, it would cost approximately $280,000. Electric fund, it would be about $27,000, and water, it would be about $63,000, for a total of $368,868 to bring everyone to 50% of the market. And that does include vacancies. I did leave seasonal positions at our typical seasonal rate, but other than that, that includes everyone. So that would be to get to 50% of the market. You're looking about $370,000. So.
Now, I think the other part that the group should understand is that, and I know you said it, but I want to emphasize, our step and grade system that we would like to see differs from PayPoint HR's in the sense that it would have more steps and more grades, correct? We would go out to 21. They went out to
more grades, not more steps. The same amount of steps, 21 steps.
They went out to 21? I
Yes.
thought they only went out to 20.
Yeah, they went out to 20 years, because you would obviously start on step 1, year 2, you'd go to step 2, so.
But we felt the more grades allowed us with our various different positions to have some more flexibility for placement.
And I did keep the percentages between the steps the same as PayPoint, which was that 2.5%. And then the grades, though, I went a little bit less since we had more steps. I went 5% between grades. And again, these numbers are just a starting point. You guys can tell me what you want to see, and I will,
Kelsey, does the county do 25 grades and 21 steps? Is it similar?
I can't remember how many grades they have, but they do go out 21 steps. And theirs was a 2.5% last I looked, which I received last year's step and grade system from them, and it was 2.5% between steps.
But what happens when someone
Maxes out,
Yes.
just COLAs.
That's cool.
Yep, and the county's the same way. Most organizations are, once you max out on those steps, so after presumably 20 years of service in the same position, you would max out, and then you would only receive COLAs going forward. So.
You may not remember, but it's my understanding Berlin attempted to do this one time before,
Yes.
years ago.
Yeah, I was not here, but yes, I have
Did
heard
it
that.
last? How long did it go before it ended?
Mary may be better suited to answer that.
Over a decade.
Oh,
It went 10 years and then,
It was 96 and it went into 2000.
Yeah.
and then it was just brought to an end.
What happened was that each year, steps weren't honored, and they basically, the mayor and council decided what was going to get paid each year.
Yeah.
So they weren't following it.
It served no real purpose.
So the program just fell apart.
So it was there, but it was never actually utilized.
Right.
Correct, and the whole system actually had each department having their own step and grade
Mhm.
with their own positions, not a one system. So you would end up having the water department with the different categories and a step and grade. And you would actually have the police department with a step and grade with each, department.
And from your memory, was it just too aggressive a program?
No, but again, we're talking about 0 years.
Right.
So if you end up having 0 years, you're not gonna end up with the cost of living and a step, you end up with neither. So you end up with that for a long enough period, you really don't have a step and grade system.
Right. You can't, excuse me, you can't just do nothing with it for several years and then try to pick up where you left off
Right.
because you're behind at that point.
Unless you were to, I mean, not that you want to do that, but unless you were in a position where then restarting it, maybe you added a good percentage increase to try to make up for past years. But yeah, that's, and I think I had a council member ask me, in my time as a county, how did this typically get followed? And I can tell you in the time I was there, we got a step every year. There was one year, the year I'd started, which I wouldn't have been eligible for that at that time anyways, but they did not do one that year. But then the COLAs were the kind of the wild card every year, but steps were pretty much able to be relied on as an employee of the county, so.
Yeah, it's not, and we don't want to mislead anyone, nor are we entering into this thinking we're going to freeze a step. But if there was if there was a hard fiscal point, right, we're in a much better financial position. But I think it's important for everybody to know that if it came to furloughing or freezing a step, the first act that we're going to do is freeze a step.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're not going to furlough folks in order to give a step. At
And-
least that would not be my recommendation.
And the first year is going to be the most expensive and the most challenging on where you're going to put people. After that, it's going to be whatever percentage you're basically setting, whatever you guys determine right now. Like I said, it's the 2.5%, but whatever you guys determine is best moving forward is kind of what you could rely on.
So Kelsey, just a couple questions here. This 50% that you gave us of the 370, that's based on what the salaries are currently, correct?
Yes.
So that is factoring in the 35% market value we put in last year.
Yeah, and if you recall, last year I actually pulled the email that I sent to you guys the last budget cycle, and at that point, the difference was, I'd say it was about 310,000 to get us to the 50% market. So obviously, there's a big difference this year, but I will say that I think some of that has to do with we've had a few people retire, and those people were already at that 50%, so they
Didn't get it.
wouldn't have gotten it. Whereas some of the people that, are still factored in here are vacancies, new positions, where we're going to assume that someone filling that role is going to have these qualifications, and we are. So this is the most accurate I could get with where we stand today.
I think, and I don't know how the group feels, but maybe the highest priority item is the placement on the step and grade system.
Yeah.
Because right now, we're kind of at a stagnant point. We're at 35% of market with no pathway forward, right? And we're going to get ready and enter into, unless we decide, hey, the step and grade system might not be the highest priority, maybe we want to move the needle on the percent of market. But I know that we've heard from some of our staff that the percent of market does not provide any additional pay for longevity. Is that correct?
Right.
It basically puts everybody, whether you're...
To me, it just
It's
seems...
based on a regional survey,
Right.
and those are pretty much
But
sort of stagnant numbers. You don't know what
yeah.
the tenure of the person who
Completed
applied
that.
that number
Right.
is.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, that it is hard to say because the 50% market and even the 35% market, the people completing those surveys, we don't know how long their employees had been there. We don't know if because there were different ways to answer it. You could put your range, your starting and your max out for those jobs. You could put what your current people are making in those jobs. So it really is We just don't know exactly how every organization answered. And
Now, to me, I mean, not to cut you off there, but
No.
to me, I mean, I kind of agree with what's been said already. I think that our jobs up here, and to give it the time that it needs and deserves, is we need to figure out the percent that we want to keep between steps and grades.
yes,
How we want to, I don't want to say appropriate, how we want to put personnel in the proper slot, the proper step and grade, and then figure out how we want to handle COLAs and such moving forward after that. To me, that's, in my mind, those are the top three things. It sounds to me that the percentage of the market value is not perhaps as urgent as we may have originally thought. So I think the step and grade is a great way forward, and I think that's what staff is really kind of looking for, if I'm reading it correctly.
Well, how about we go through the questions that the Human Resources Director wants us to answer?
Okay.
Can we do that?
Yes.
Well, those are my answers.
Look at all of them, though. Yeah. I don't want to, I can roll on this, but do we want to bring staff to 50% of the market?
I think
So
that I'm.
Well, and really, how does the group feel? Work it
so,
down the
yeah,
line.
I would, so the thing that we did last year, which was a significant investment and was truly needed, I'm not for going to 50% of the market this year. I think it's too much. I think that a lot of, many employees got significant increases, deserved, according to the market. But there were also employees that have been here a long time that were not influenced or impacted. And that really doesn't sit well with me at all. And I would, on the good side, the flip side is that the town of Berlin is treating them fairly and paying them what the market will bear. So I think we should be proud of that. But I think that it's unfair for some of the employees that have been here longer that are being treated fairly for them to go another year without much of an impact.
and there would be 11 staff members at 50% that still would not see an increase, just want to make sure that's.
And the longer, probably, assumingly the longer tenured employees, right?
Yes, some of them, yeah.
So I would be a no for 50%. I would entertain a percentage increase, but I really would rather focus on the step and grade, getting that segment, I agree with Councilman Orris, getting that, those numbers down. And it doesn't say we can't come back to revisit this a year from now with the percentage, but last year a major investment was made. And so I would prefer to keep it, it's not, it's tough to talk about this in front of everybody, but that's where I am. And I think that a lot of employees were treated very well last year, but I feel like focusing on step and grade and those specific numbers would be the way to go.
Thank you. Councilmember Morris?
Yeah, I think that I think the step and grade is where we need to be, but I do have a question on these. Kelsey, on the one that you made,
Yes.
which is 5, 6, and 7. How'd you do it? Like, how are these, or did you just take the range of the numbers and separate them out by math? Or how did,
Or the other word, magic.
yeah.
Excel magic.
I'm just curious, I'm not.
No, you're fine. Basically, we knew that we wouldn't start anyone lower than 15, so I started at 15. I went out, 4% between grades. I was trying to kind of be somewhat in line with theirs. Now I know that this one that I have done does come in a little higher, but it was hard. I basically plugged in a bunch of percentages and tried to see what would get me in that general range. And then just for clarity purposes too, because I did have someone ask, there's 3 numbers in each box. The top one is annualized, the middle number is biweekly, and then the lowest number is the hourly rate. I just want to make sure that is clear to everybody. But yeah, that would be, to be honest, like I said, I just kind of had to play with it a little bit.
But I think the important note, just so that everybody's on the same page, we use PayPoint
Yes,
HR's table. Just for everybody that's watching, we use PayPoint HR's table. We just added some steps and then, added the grades really. But then, correct. And what Kelsey's saying is not, we're just trying to see what the numbers end up
Right,
on
right.
each end. we wanted to try and get as close to the PayPoint HR numbers as possible on each end when we
Oh,
got there.
actually, yeah, I'm looking at it, and, yeah, sorry, I'm trying to remember, because it's been a little while, but, yeah, if you look at page, 40 of the PayPoint study, I guess it's 49 of your packet. Like I said, I had last week's packet because I didn't want to reprint
Yeah, a couple of us are using the large
I'm
packet.
sorry.
It's the same,
But it's
so.
table 29 in the PayPoint HR study. That is the table they provided. So I had to build the step and grade.
So they gave you the mid, and
They kind of said, hey,
Basically,
min,
yeah.
max. Now, again, I know that my max is a little higher, I do recognize that, but going to 4% put me under their top, and going 5% put me a little over, and I felt more comfortable. I'd rather be a little over instead of under, but again, these are fluid figures and can be changed.
So yeah, I'm still of the opinion, focusing on the step and the grade, nailing down those percentages that are applicable and putting the right staff in the right spots.
Thank you. Councilmember Burrell?
Counselor, how strongly do you feel with what you have presented?
It's kind of hard to say because as much as you'd like to see people get to the 50% of the market, then I recognize that we still have 11 people that, once again, if they're not affected at 50%, then you know they weren't affected at 35%. So I feel like that's where my kind of struggle comes in with that. So I think that focusing on the step and grade right now does make more sense in order to touch, again, I hate to say that, in order to affect everyone. Yeah, that, and then, one other thing to consider, regardless of which route we go, I think we're leaning towards whatever we do, we are going to put some sort of step and grade in place, whether it's really like pushed out to people's full tenure or not at this point. But I'm gonna have to bring every employee to a step to start somewhere. So regardless, everyone should see something, unless they happen to be that probably one or two people that might be exactly what a step is, might not see anything. But regardless of whichever route you guys go, I mean, I think everyone will see something, but I think that a step and grade at this point is going to affect more people.
Tell me what happens to the folks that have maxed out.
They would just be COLAs after that. And that is typical with organizations. We only probably have a handful of people that would be maxed out, but again, that's based on their tenure. They might not have held that position for 20 years, so then I'm gonna have to, I don't know, is it gonna be just a case-by-case basis where we're saying, okay, they might be a step, a grade 16 and have been here for 30 years, but they haven't always been at that grade 16. So do I not go fully at grade 16?
It's complex.
It is.
It may take a couple of years before everything is fitting together like the puzzle that you want it to be.
How many folks have maxed out?
I don't have that on me, I'm sorry, but I could email it over to you.
Give me your best guess.
I'd say less than 10, but I don't know, maybe 5, 6.
That's what I was thinking, 5 or 6.
Yeah, I think probably 5 or 6 off the top of my head, but again, that's if you're maxing them out in their current position. So they might not be fully maxed out if you really take a look at, and the thing too, when I said going out to someone's full tenure, it's not like if someone's been here for 30 years, it's not like they've seen no increases. So that's why I said I don't know that you want to go to their full tenure, because it's not like they've never seen an increase working for the town, So I'm sure that, going the full route of bringing them all the way up to the max step is not probably necessary. I'm not sure how you want me to, like I said, I can build it out and bring you something and you guys can tell me what you think.
I think this might take a couple iterations. We're not trying to build it all out tonight, but we do need a general sense of what direction to work in.
I have another question. What happens if someone is step 3, maxed out, and they apply for another position? which is a higher step.
What typically?
Higher grade.
Grade.
I knew what
Higher
you meant,
grade.
yes, yeah, I'm sorry, I should clarify that too, but, yeah, I knew what you meant, great. If that were to happen, what I have seen in other organizations is, okay, say we're looking at a grade 3, step 21, that's $28.40 an hour. If they applied for a position that's a grade 10, you would at least start them out. They would be in grade 10 now, but you'd probably bump them out a little bit, but not all the way maxed out. You'd probably bring them to whatever's closest and then factor in some of that experience they have with the organization. But it looks like the first step of a grade 10 would be $28.76. So in that particular example, that is higher, but then we would factor in probably some of that experience, even though it's not all directly related, it's still experience with the town that should be factored in. But so I think hiring somebody, whether they're internal or external, is going to be easier with something in place. It's just,
Yes,
it's just
we
putting
need some
the new
rules.
people in,
And I
or
think-
putting current
So
existing
everyone can be
staff.
treated the same.
Yeah.
Sometimes judgment calls and negotiation will enter into
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
You won't always be able to pick someone unless they're truly starting out first thing in a position. You will have to weigh some factors, just as you do any time you hire somebody.
And you could list ranges on, you can say that this position is a grade 10 between a step 1 and 5 as your hiring point. That's normal to see too, where they list out that this could be your starting point based on your prior experience. So,
I think it makes it difficult when you just keep saying grades. If you use the positions, it becomes so much easier. So you understand what a senior officer is versus a corporal. They have responsibilities and duties, and again, they might be 6% apart. But if you keep saying grades, you really get lost in that. So again, every one of these departments have positions, and they are actually slotted in grades. But if you put the actual position in, it becomes a lot clearer.
yeah, it's kind of hard right now to talk more generally, but.
When you say
But at the end, that is
That
what
is
will
what will
happen.
be,
Yeah,
yeah.
every position will be assigned a grade.
Yes,
But like Jack, I really would be interested in trying to get this stepping grade system underway.
Yeah.
I think it would be a benefit to our employees, knowing consistently what's going to happen year after year.
Yes, I agree.
And I bring back to Dave Fitzgerald's
Yes.
reply when he was asked about folks under his supervision or folks that he manages. It was not if, and, or but, it was, this is it.
right. And if you know that off the bat, it's easier to build your budget knowing that this is what they're going to get. If you're able to do a COLA, then that's something you would consider then. But it also makes us a lot more transparent in hiring. It makes us a lot more transparent to current staff. It's not like a mystery of what other positions are. If I was interested in applying for another job, it's nice to know what that position would be starting at.
But right along with implementing this step grade system, we would have to establish, I'm gonna say some rules to deal with those situations that may come up.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for some guidance on. And like I said, I can use my judgment. I just don't want to waste my time or your time if you guys are not going to like my judgment. So I'm looking to you for some guidance on some of these questions that I have raised.
Councilmember Murray, you're up.
Just for clarification, for Dean's example, if someone's maxed out at grade 3, you, in conjunction with possibly Mary and the mayor, might say, well, he's applying for a grade 10, let's start him off at step 11. That gives him a little bump and a place to start, is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, that would be something that we would have to just take on a case-by-case basis.
Right.
Yeah.
So that would take into consideration
Prior
where this person is now on step 3
Mhm.
with a bump.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not max them out.
yeah, but then they have room to grow in that
Yeah.
role too,
Yeah.
yes.
And you can have, you will have situations where the highest
Yeah.
step on a given grade is higher than a lower step on a higher grade. And so, yes, you're certainly not gonna take money away from
No,
anybody.
no,
Right.
no.
So then you've gotta fit them in there where
Where they
they're,
are with a bump.
yeah.
So
That makes sense.
I am fully in favor of implementing a step and grade program. I think it will be very tough to achieve, like Steve said, the 50% for all program. That's a bit of a stretch and it might present a financial hardship for the town. But definitely implementing this program is a win for the employees, given that it takes the worry about what they're going to receive every year. I think that's crucial. I think it's a win for this council because we don't have to argue it during budget time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And it's a win for the residents because it's completely transparent. You know, they see what we're doing, so, yeah. I think
Councilmember Nichols?
Second grade, I'm definitely for it. I don't want a repeat of what happened the last time something of its nature existed in this town. So, I mean, I feel like that's a big concern as well. You know, maybe making sure that we're implementing and following what we're putting out there. So that for me is, you know, a big, not a concern, I'll say that. But also, when I think about step and grade, I guess in my mind, you always go to what you know. So when I think about this and I look at this, I want to make sure, I think Mr. Burrell stated something about making sure that there are guidelines and what have you in place. So that's definitely something of a concern to me as well, because if you think about a person, say for example, I'm going to say somebody on Jimmy's crew, for example, if those gentlemen, or it could be a female, if those employees in his department go out and become certified in another area, I want to make sure that those things are taken into consideration. They could become, I don't know, what do you call that, weed mitigation certified or whatever.
Herbicide.
Yes, so when you become,
Yeah.
that needs, when those kinds of things happen.
And it'll be nice to tie those to a step once we
Yes.
get to that point. And there are gonna be
Yes.
some things that are maybe deserving of one step, maybe other things that are harder to obtain and might link them to 2 steps, you know?
Yes.
It'll
For sure.
And for instance, on that particular type of situation, we gave you a appendices to, appendix
Mhm.
to the employee handbook that
Right.
listed some increases. That would be changed.
Yes.
To increase, indicating
Right,
a
so
step
things
up.
like, for example, if you think about his crew again, when they become CDL certified and those kinds of things. I'm not saying that everybody, I don't think it's a requirement.
Yeah, it would have to be related to their
Yes,
position.
those
Yes,
kinds of,
yes.
so, yeah,
Yeah.
anybody's department for that matter, but in my mind, when I'm thinking of step and grade, when I'm going to better myself within my job, I'm hoping that
Right.
these new badges mean something for me.
Yeah. Yep, that's the hope.
All right. So I think question 1's solved, that we would like to put the hold on FY '25 going to 50% of the market. I think that's the best way to handle it.
Yeah.
Let's hold it for the next budget cycle and say 35% of market for FY '25. Now let's get to the step and grade side of things. So with that, let's move to question number 2.
I'm gonna word that one a little differently,
Go ahead.
but basically, yes, on this, if we're gonna implement a step and grade, do we agree with the placement of position as provided? I guess that question is more properly worded. Are you looking for the 16 grades that they had recommended, or are we looking for a larger scale to space positions out more? That
So
would be kind of
the
next
question is
question.
Kelsey Stable or Page 1 HR?
And again, both can be amended, but yes.
I mean, yeah, or as a model.
Right, yeah, 25 steps, 16 steps.
Should we go from this way to that way?
Yep, we're going to alternate.
Cool.
So, Councilmember Nichols?
So my thought is, I would lean more towards Kelsey's. I feel it's a little bit more digestible, realistic for the town of Berlin, I would say.
Thank you. Councilmember Nur?
I agree completely. Kelsey scale seems to fit our needs well.
Thank you. Councilmember Burrell?
Council's ranges and percentages are, I think, are good. I have a concern with this starting salary of grade 1, step 1.
And that would be us, like
Like a
a
seasonal.
seasonal employee. We
Keep
would
in mind, we
never,
need
all of our
flexibility.
full-time employees start around, I think 18 is our lowest, and we would not,
You're asking my question.
yes.
We provide the
Sorry.
flexibility we need.
Yeah, they said it's okay if you have a couple empty grades too, but just to leave like, you know, if you needed to have something fill in there, you could, but.
So as it stands now, you actually have positions assigned to these grades.
Ballpark.
Ballpark, I do, but I just kind of needed to know which route you guys wanted to go before I really like.
I think that'll be our subsequent work session, is ensuring that everybody feels comfortable with placement of position.
And Kelsey and I'll have a lot of homework to do before that comes back to you, so.
And I just want to, Kelsey made a comment earlier that I would just like to say that it is my expectation, Kelsey, that you are the professional in the room considering HR. And I want you to know that your opinions and recommendations are valuable and are valued by this group. And you know I'm not just speaking for myself, but don't sell yourself short.
Thank you.
Because we depend upon your expertise and your professionalism to provide us with the information that we need.
Thank you.
So keep doing a good job.
Well said. Councilmember Wars?
Kelsey, I'm curious, and it could be yes or no. Would it be, I don't know if easier is the right word, but would it be more beneficial if there was a grade 26 instead of a step 21? Or no?
Well, it just got everyone out to 20 years, so you were gonna start a
right,
position at
okay.
step 1, and then at 20 years, you'd be at 21. You know, whenever because your end of your year 1, or however we do it, fiscal year, whatever, you'd be going to step 2, then step 3. So by the time you hit 20 years, you should be at 21. That's why it's 21. But it could be whatever you guys want.
Well, no.
Yeah, you can have 30 steps if you want.
Yeah.
I didn't want to muddy
You
it.
could change step 1 to
Step 0.
0.
Yeah, you could, yeah,
Or
if
like
you wanted to, so that
base.
step, it would be at the end of your, first year,
Oh.
however we.
Okay, well, to answer the question, I am supportive of Kelsey's schedule, salary scales schedule.
Table.
Excuse me.
Councilmember Green?
More grades, I agree. The only thing I was thinking about was, should the council be involved in deciding where employees go on grades? I feel like that's an
No.
administration and operations thing. So I don't think that should come back before us.
It depends on how much, we're cognizant that the system has not been implemented before. It is a administrative level
We come back
role
with
for like,
proposals.
for hiring new
Yeah.
positions.
Yeah.
It's not gonna come to this group every time.
Yeah.
But we're cognizant that it's a new process, so that's why we wanted to get
No, I appreciate, I
your
can
input.
respect the
If you
transparency.
defer that to us, we can do that too.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think if we were to create a new position, then I might come to you guys and say, hey, this is a brand new position, this is what we're thinking, are you guys in agreement as far as its placement for grade? But not filling a current vacancy, but yeah.
Right. I just totally disagree with micromanaging the administration. So I just want to make sure that that's not something that becomes more on this body, that I don't think is appropriate.
Well,
I don't think that was ever stated.
Well, we did. I said that we would bring that back, cognizant that it is a new process. And I'd rather you all, if you want to be involved, now's the time. Because once we start bringing folks in for filling vacancies, we're not going to bring every single one in.
And to
No,
keep in
sure.
mind that we won't be assigning people
Right.
to steps and grades, we will be assigning positions. For a small organization, that's pretty easy to, figure
Yeah.
out.
And we
Yes.
would, we probably would not be
Steps,
doing
yes.
steps publicly.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
would do a
Grade.
position grade publicly,
Yeah.
just so that
Make sure
everybody's
that you
clear.
guys
Yeah.
agree with the hierarchy.
I agree with Steve, not totally. And I do believe it is not our place to micromanage, but it is our place to set guidelines and expectations and to oversee this process. I would really expect for what staff comes up with to bring back to us for our review and our information.
Review and comment.
Not that we're gonna micromanage, but we still have the overall responsibility of this process because it impacts on town dollars.
Yeah, I think that.
I think that what would be logical to bring back, every position is identified on the org chart. And so therefore, if you identify on the org chart what the position step
Grade.
grade is, yes, grade, I
Yeah.
always mix that up, then that way you're seeing everything in one place, but it's something that can be applied then, going forward, you plug a person into that slot.
Yeah, makes sense.
And I would say we don't have to start over. Again, if you look at the
Right.
2008 7th grade system, it actually has that. It has all the grades, and that's what we as the police department work on. We actually have, we recruit here, then we have the police officer, then we have the PFC, then we up there have a senior officer, then you have a corporal, then you have a sergeant, you have a lieutenant, and the chief. They're all set at grades, always straight down. How many other percentage is between these two grades? It's a difference between a sergeant and lieutenant because of their duties than you would have for the recruit and a police officer. You might only have a 3% difference between those two first positions. And you might have 8% difference on those two positions as stated. Our issue is we have people coming in now with the new slotting. They will get the same exact pay as someone who's been doing a job for 10 years. So that's where we are. If you go there, if I promoted I'm not gonna say a position B right today, they will be getting the same amount of money as someone who's been doing it for 15 years. We have people who've been doing it 32 years, 34 years, and someone came in and just got a $5,000 jump and came this close to them. So when we talk about grades, again, you might have 26, but in essence, the police department's only gonna have 12 different grades. It's not gonna change. Those positions are grades. So you're never gonna end up with a 25, 35, they're only gonna be those 12. And it might be 1, 3, 5, however you wanna do it, or just the 112. The 26 number is not a real number, because they're positions. So the police department's grades are gonna be different than the grades for public works. They're not gonna be the same.
Right, but I mean, when we create a system, every position will
Yeah.
fall within that system.
Unless every
And again,
department
if you
has
look at
25
the-
different
Right, yeah.
positions, you're never gonna
If you
fill the
look
whole
at 7th grade,
thing
you
out.
actually see that the clerk is slotted with the PCO.
Good.
There they are. But again, it's already done.
Well, I mean, and that's important, I'm sure Kelsey has that information, but that's important when we're going through the placement of things to have where those things fall in line. Now, it's hearing from the group, everybody's comfortable with what we've done with the 26 different,
I just have one quick
or
question.
25 different grades.
So, given what the chief just said, how often should this program be reviewed? Because if you look at step 1, grade 1, it's $15 an hour salary. 10 years from now, the market could be paying
You factor in
$25.
COLAs each year as well.
What's that?
So you'd be factoring in the prior year's COLA each year.
So
So
every year you'll have a new,
Well,
it'll
let's
be,
say minimum wage turned to $20 an hour.
Right.
Then yes, we would need to revamp that. Yeah.
So, just so I understand what Kelsey just said, each year you would factor in COLA and the starting, number one,
From the
Will
prior
be
year.
adjusted.
The floor moves.
we would adjust.
Yes, as Arnold just said, yes, the floor would move so that next year, we're not now out of our step and grade because you guys gave a COLA as well. So the COLA would be factored into
So
these
every
going
year,
forward.
okay.
Yes, that's
Well,
why,
COLAs would be in addition to
I understand.
right.
each step.
And that's why like I said, we put that FY '24 COLA at 2.25 kind of as an FYI from the prior year. So going forward, I didn't do it in this one because I don't know where you guys really want to start, but going forward, yeah, that 2.25 would now be factored in the following year's floor. So all positions would now be there.
That makes sense.
All right, so,
So Chief, you're,
go ahead.
Right.
so the police force is gonna be on its own?
No, every position will be
In
within
this.
one,
We would
It
grade
would be a
whatever
temp-
they are
whatever they have.
utilizing, we
We
would
would
be
plug it in.
building that into.
What we're
here.
saying is you keep saying grades, and I'm saying you're making it more difficult than what you have to.
You just wanna say,
Each one is a position.
okay.
So if you go ahead and say, police chief is grade 25, but police chief, you would actually have there, kind of have it really sit in little parentheses beside, but it's position. If you say position corporal, it's 12. Corporal, but that's what it is, it's a corporal position with the steps going out.
Yeah, but there will
So
be
it becomes a
positions
lot
that
clearer
share
when you go
grades.
ahead and understand the position.
yeah, it'll
We're
be,
not gonna have a separate step and grade for each division, each department, but we will fit things where they go.
as Councilmember Nurse said, like you were saying in the beginning, it'll be placed on the org chart.
Yeah.
So
Be clear.
if
Yeah, I
anybody
think that'll
from each
make it-
department wanted to see it, they know this position
And of course,
aligns
we
with
will
this.
work with the department,
Right.
Kelsey and I are not gonna do this in a vacuum, we'll
Right.
work with the department.
And actually,
heads.
I do already have the police department, so it's already something I've looked at, and when we go to plug those positions in, I would be plugging them into the closest in order to make it work for what they are currently operating on and what we will be operating on, so.
And any given department is not gonna hit every grade.
We just don't.
For instance,
we're not-
admin has 3 people in it, we're obviously not gonna, ever hit 25 different grades.
All right, so the next question, question 3, Kelsey, you want to summarize that for the group?
It was just, how do you want, and again, this is probably gonna be one of the case by case, question 3 and 4, really. 3 was talking about the tenure for employees. Are you guys, do you want me to go all the way out for employees, knowing that they have received raises over the years at some points? And they also, we don't know what the respondents on that pay study, what their tenure was either. So I don't know that going out, if someone's been here 20 years, bringing them all the way out to step 21 is going to be fiscally responsible, knowing that they have received increases and we don't know what the respondents had received or where they stood as far as tenure. So I think that, I was kind of looking for some guidance as a starting point. Do you want me to, if someone, again, this is going to be one of those things, I think that's a case by case. We're trying to look at the position, would be a grade, but at each individual, it might just be a case by case on prior experience with our organization or another organization. So I just put it in there, knowing that it's probably going to be something that we'll just work on internally in admin, but I didn't know if anyone had anything they wanted to put in there.
Well, this is what I think.
Okay.
When it comes to placing folks on the scale, of course, tenure is important. But if I am now a step 5, where I'm placed on this scale should be according to my salary, not my years of service. Starting here now, because I could be working on a job, and this is just an example, and I could be working on a job 25 years. And my position is placed at a step 6, but working here 25 years. could be grade 6. But my step could be, placed at step 17. So those years of service, starting here now, should not be considered. But what needs to be considered is where my salary falls on
Currently,
my
yes,
grade.
to bring you to the nearest step. And that was one of the things I was kind of looking for. You want me to start with that? And then if you guys want to make any adjustments, we can, but, yeah, that's kind of what that's one of the.
Yeah.
And you said there's only a handful of people in that situation that have that many years of service.
11.
They're probably only like a less than 10, I'd say 6-ish. 11 wouldn't be touched if we were going with 50%. But as far as if they've maxed out, as far as years of service, we have probably about 6 or so.
If you considered each step to be a year.
If you considered, yeah. Yeah.
So Vice President Burrell, what we're hearing is salary to the nearest step for the appropriate grade
Yes.
To start.
as a starting
Yes,
point.
yes, yes.
Okay. So now, starting in the middle, let's work that direction. Councilmember Nerd, we're gonna just have fun.
Again,
Bless you.
since it's such few people, I think it should be treated as a case-by-case basis, and like you, Mary, and the mayor get together and just place that person appropriately in the right grade and step.
Thank you. Councilmember Nichols?
That was my thought,
Okay.
that when it comes to those 5 to 7 or whomever, or however that works with that group, that needs to be a case by case.
Councilmember Morris?
So, yes, I agree.
Salary to nearest step, case by case?
Yes, with Vice President Burrell, essentially.
Yes, I agree with that as a starting point. I think tenure is incredibly important. I come from a private sector background. It matters how long you've worked here. So I think that as long as if it's a handful of people, that it's going to get consideration. I think that's very important. Somebody that's been here 20 years deserves the respect, and I think it deserves an extra look, I would say.
Yeah.
And hopefully, as Steve said, hopefully they are at least somewhat in line with their years of service and their position anyways, but we will definitely take it into consideration as we go through, so, all right.
Up next is question 4, and that's factoring in prior
I think
experience.
that's gonna kind of fall in the same
Yeah.
category. And then, again, I think that, this was kind of part of that whole conversation, is just, taking on a new position within the organization, but maybe have, say someone just became, Public Works Director, but they've been here for 15 years in a, labor position. So that's why I was kind of wondering how you wanted me to handle situations like that, but it sounds like we've kind of talked about at least a starting point for now, so I think that that's answered.
I think it's key that we get a starting point and then see how things kind of play out from there.
I also, yes, this is a starting point, I think this is great. And when we brought it up originally, I think it was mentioned, we were also working on, well, we have a evaluation process already, but I think that once this gets going, evaluation should be also kind of part, not performance-based per se, but I think evaluation should be part of an employee's package.
In order to reach
In order to-
advancement of a step, you need to have a favorable review.
I mean, I think we can talk about that, or admin could talk about that. I'm not saying that it's like, you do good, you get paid more. That's not what I'm saying, but I think there should be some sort of, in tying in with the existing evaluation process, that should be considered in an employee's total. Wow.
See, now, I think if we go here, the step and grade needs to be just what it is, step and grade. And what Jack is talking about could possibly be tied to COLA, but evaluation should not play a part in the step and grade.
I would agree. I think that it becomes a merit system at that
Yeah.
point. And I don't know that you can tie it to COLA if the floor is going to move.
And if you're not working, you need to be,
Yeah, if you're not working, then, that should be the,
COLA should be an economic factor, not a
Yes.
performance factor.
Yes.
well,
I don't know if you necessarily, I'm not trying to overstep or change your verbiage here, Councilmember Orris, but I don't feel that you were stating that, or at least I didn't feel like I heard that correctly. I don't feel that you were stating that these job performance, not performance, but these
Evaluation.
evaluations should be tied to. You weren't saying that. Yeah, I don't think they should be tied to. They already exist, right?
No.
right now, we are not.
We do not have
Okay,
a
we haven't.
formal
and
process.
So this, if we're talking evaluations, if they're going to come into play, maybe, just maybe, in the job description, it should include a semi-annual and an annual evaluation. If you were ever going to add them, that should maybe be a part of a job description, like coming in there as part of what happens. But I don't think it should ever be tied to your money.
Our
I don't
handbook
think
states not tied to money, but our handbook does
Well,
state
this is your picture.
that, no, I'm
I
saying,
don't know.
the handbook states now that we may have a evaluation process. I can tell
The
you my
evaluations
personal,
are fine, but I
Right.
don't think it should be tied to your paycheck.
my
I
personal
don't
belief
think so.
is that when we implement, we don't reinvent the wheel. The State Department of Budget and Management has a pathway, a process. I think we implement that process as a framework to start, but it's not tying steps to.
Yeah, and I don't think he meant that when he said that, but, yeah.
You start getting into.
But I do agree it can be a useful tool for
Yeah.
keeping
Yeah.
the whole staff on track.
yeah.
I do think, and I've stated this to the mayor and Mary, but I think if we were to get to that point, it's my personal feeling that they should be done on someone's anniversary date. And that way, that department doesn't feel that they're sitting down for 2 days out of that whole week
Yeah,
and
just
just doing these all day and running through them. I want it to be more personal and a little more time spent on it. So I feel like if you do it on an annual, on their anniversary date, then it does make it a little more personal and gives each party a little more.
That's the way it's
time.
done at the hospital. It is your anniversary date that your evaluation is expected to be completed.
Yeah.
And it also, it takes that money factor out too. Like if we're saying they need to be done by the beginning or the end, the start of a new fiscal year, it does create the appearance that it's fiscally driven. So,
Yeah.
Right.
but, all right, so let's see. We've gone through our questions. Any final comments about and it looks like we're going to be able to start closer to our normal time than we thought. Any additional comments regarding the table that Kelsey has created?
Yeah, percentages, I mean, do you want to see anything different between grades or steps or,
Well, first I want to say good job.
thanks.
This is
You know,
it.
echo that. I think that the 2.5 between steps and the 5% between grade is fairly reasonable. In my realm, I think the difference between grade is 6%, but 5 or 6, whatever. I think that this is good. So yeah, have fun.
Thanks. I will say, not to I didn't get too crazy, but as you can see, this is my brainstorming here. I have put every employee's initials on where I believe they will be, but I haven't, that was my kind of, my
Kelsey,
brainstorming here.
we actually started down that path last year and realized that we were not in a place to do anything constructive.
This one was more recent, but yeah, we did try it last year too and kind of, decided to just hang on a little bit until I talked to you guys.
Kudos for the hard work. This definitely, this matrix and the, this is your wheelhouse, definitely not ours.
So-
thank you.
Hearing from the group, what we'll do is we'll try to assign a grade to each position within the org chart. And that, along with this table, would be circulated to the group. If there's a belief that it needs to come before the body in a work session, that should just be the comment. Let's see that in a work session. Other than that, if there's consensus on it or no feedback, then we'll move forward with it. All right?
Don't we have to kind of do that in a work session?
Do we have to?
Isn't that?
I think we can send it out in an email. If anybody objects, then we can bring it to a meeting, right?
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that.
We're not asking for a vote. It would be if you, even if one member wanted to see it as a work session item, we'll bring it before the group as a work session. But
Yeah, we could send it out just for feedback. Do you feel like another work session is necessary, or is this ready to?
Did it go public?
Yeah.
And then you would see it during the budgeting process as well, because it's one of the.
So the budgeting process for that, once this is approved, the first time the council sees the budget, the salary number will represent this.
Would represent the placement as well as, if we're placing everybody, the objective would be to not hold them steady.
Yes,
It would be to move them along.
right, okay, right.
Right.
And then this body decides on a COLA.
Correct.
That's a great starting point.
Yeah.
So, thank you guys.
Definitely.
Kelsey, when you do the assignments and get the org chart all straightened out, can you give us the final number of how much it will add?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, keep in mind, what we're gonna try and do first is the closest salary to the appropriate grade. So that shouldn't move the needle drastically unless we have somebody misappropriated on the
But
grade
they're all going to
side.
get an increase.
Well, that would be the, yes, you would get the number for the
And that's
next
what I want to see,
step.
how much that increase.
Right,
So you
Yeah,
want me
hopefully
to,
you would only be shifting people a matter of
2.5.
a little bit, pennies, a couple of dollars within a thing, but then you may find that there are employees who you really don't feel are at all appropriate. And I think that we're going to address that.
Yeah, we'll summarize that in the org chart and the table. Just
So I
so,
understand what has just been said. When we get the budget figures, this will be included. And
and
folks are gonna be placed where they currently are. And there will be a step.
if that's what you guys want me to do, that is what I will do.
I think we
Place
can-
the
we can
nearest
show that.
plus one.
I think we can show that.
Okay.
Yep, I can do that. And then it would be up to you guys on any COLA or anything on top of that,
Now that I understand.
which I will always recommend.
So essentially, I'm just gonna say a 2.5% across the board. Right, because everyone thinks it's.
but we'll see. Let's see where it comes in at.
Why do I just keep throwing this B word around so much tonight?
What's up?
Budget.
Budget.
It's that time of year.
Tis the season.
Tis the season.
Jack has already declared. All right, any remaining items? If not, we'll take a 5-minute recess and return to our general open session.
All right, then advertise at 7:30.
It was.
Yeah, I think we need to.
We do?